Admittedly, that finale was kind of a letdown. I'm not gonna lie. Yeah, that's my thoughts on episode 12 of Remake Our Life, the finale of the series. So let's jump into it. So yeah, the episode opens up where we left off. Koya is confronted by Keiko, and she's offering him the chance to go back once again. And it was cool because she technically does, like, point out the fact, look, you technically have a life here that most people would be super happy with. Like, you have a wife, you have a child, you have a job that relies on you. Are you sure you want to do this? And he's like, yeah, it's technically what I was seeking for is not happiness. What I was seeking for was to struggle, get hurt, and push forward along with the people that he wanted to with. Kind of pointing out, again, like I said before, is his desire was Platinum Generation. He wants to work with them. He wants to work alongside them. He wants this opportunity. It was funny because he's pointing out, like, they keep hitting on this idea of him being like this protagonist superhero with supernatural abilities and doesn't want to become the hero and get the nice girl and everything. He just, like, again, he says that he wants to struggle and be the push the edge with these others. While Keiko is going to send him on his way, he's like, no, wait. I gotta say goodbye first. And that's when he goes home and discovers that Akishino has actually re-sparked her joy for art. As his child comes up with this picture that she drew, and it points out the fact that, yeah, having kind of re-sparked the joy that Ayaka had in art, it kind of re-sparks Akishino. So, like, that aspect of her sparking Ayaka, and then Ayaka sparking her to go back into art, which was kind of cool. But yeah, now she wants to do art again, and she's hoping that he will help kind of take care of Maki as she focuses on her art again and just kind of re-sparks her love for it. But yeah, as he finally says goodbye pretty much one last time to Akishino and Maki, he goes to leave for work, and yes, that's when Keiko appears, and he says, "You ready to go now?" And he's like, "Yeah, I'm ready to go." They kind of had a little discussion before she sends him back, and that was really kind of this idea that she acknowledges the fact that Kyoya had the opportunity to essentially cheat. Like, he has this vision of what is in the future, and he could have easily used that to get ahead. Like, yeah, like everybody's pretty much mentioned already, why wouldn't he go to the lotto? Why wouldn't he do certain things, put stock in certain things? All these things that he could have done in order to get significant gains in the previous world. And it kind of acknowledges it finally. It's pointing it out so that all the people that are complaining that he's dumb, that he won't use this opportunity to, yeah, warn people about natural disasters, win the lottery, all this stuff, put in stocks, is because he chose not to. And it is funny because it is almost like the writer himself or herself is really kind of telling the viewer, like, hey, I thought of this, don't worry. He just doesn't want to use it. But we all know that's kind of wrong. But yeah, anyways, it is acknowledging that's where it's kind of pointing it out. But she does technically tell him, look, you understand now that you're no longer an interloper. You trying to help these people and becoming their, he says that, I always thought that I had to try to help people to kind of become their savior, and I need to stop doing that. Again, it's pushing on this idea that you need to stop getting involved with these people and being the one that helps them, because then they rely on you and drop away. So yeah, with that said, Keiko sends him back one last time. And it was interesting because it doesn't send him where I thought it would send him. It literally sends him right back to where he left off. The point in which Tsuruyuki has given up and walked away, left school and everything, which, like I said, is kind of a shocker. It is kind of more of a challenge, I guess, where it's technically pushing him to fix what he broke rather than to go, okay, Keiko comes up and just sends you back to before you screwed everything up and now you get a second chance. No, it's trying to force him to try to correct that path after he already screwed it up. Which in this sense seems like he's being a lot more hands-off. With the brief moment we technically get of seeing him back in the past, because obviously, again, this is the finale, and it took so long for him to get back to that time period again. We don't really get to see much, but it does seem like it's hitting heavy on this idea of him being completely hands-off. He's still wanting to help people, but he's being hands-off about it. So when Nanako comes up to him and says, hey, do you remember that thing I told you about? And he's like, oh, you mean that letter where that person was confessing to you, or your fan was confessing to you? It's like, no. This other Otomege wants her to help them with a theme song, and she's going to ask him for help. But he chooses to say, you should do it on your own. You'll do it. You're gonna be able to knock it out. And she gets frustrated by this, obviously, but again, this is him keeping hands off, letting her do it so that she can grow. I didn't quite understand this, but it technically does get into Akishino having a similar situation, which doesn't make sense to what the story they told transpired after he had gone back to the future, but at least in this situation, it's showing that Akishino doesn't really have a drive to do art. And it doesn't really show him really get involved with her. It seems like she starts getting into animation. I don't know. It was a little weird how they kind of showed Akishino's situation, but she did have a block. She seemed to have started back up once she started doing some sort of animation. It did have him run into Ayaka at some point, and it shows her with a copy of the game that Akishino and all them made. So it's already still showing Ayaka still be inspired by Akishino, but doesn't really quite show why Akishino gets back into her art. And it does have the point which he finally goes to Kawasagawa to let her know, if I were to rely on you, would you drop everything to help me? And she's like, you should get your head checked. But yes, I would consider helping you if you had a problem. And it kind of leaves that at that. Doesn't really kind of explain what he's relying on her for, if he's going to rely on her. But it does have him quickly jump to him going to see Saruyuki, which we really get no idea of what happens there. But obviously he's going to go talk to Saruyuki to hopefully pull him back into the mix. So, which is what leads us to quite a bit of frustration that I have with this ending. I really was hoping for more of a conclusive ending, because I don't know if this is going to get a second season. But so here's the conundrum. This as a finale for this series does frustrate me, because like I said, I felt like this was probably it's a very anticlimactic ending. I don't expect them to get back to Platinum Generation, so don't get me wrong there. What I do expect is to kind of show that roadmap. At least show some sort of hint of that roadmap. Yes, it technically shows that having Nanako pushed to doing her own project. It shows it in Akishino finding something to draw again. It does show him and relying on Kawasagawa. But Tsuruyuki is the big point that it doesn't really give a resolve to. Tsuruyuki is the last portion of that Platinum Generation that he broke that is not fixed yet. So all I can do is assume that he goes there and say, hey, what's going on, Tsuruyuki? Come back. And he goes, okay, you told me that, we'll go back there. But again, I do acknowledge the idea that him not being involved with them is what will create Platinum Generation. Again, him getting mixed up and involved with all of them is exactly what kills Platinum Generation. Again, I am happy with the writer acknowledging that. Acknowledging the fact that even though he feels like he needs to get involved, and that's great, and that's fulfillment of his wishes, it's a destruction of their wishes, and that was the whole point of the story. So it's kind of a mixed bag for me. I feel like this was a very much so a anticlimactic ending, and I am frustrated with them not concluding Tsuruyuki's story, which is technically like he's the last boss. And if he's not conquered, the story has no end. So it is kind of frustrating in that regard. But even then, like I said, I can kind of draw my own conclusions. I'm sure it's continued in the light novel. I doubt this will get a second season. I've heard way too many words about this not really doing too well. But I don't know. I'm mixed. I'm very mixed in the end. I did enjoy the series. I will be doing a full review of it, by the way, so you can get my full perspective on this series as a whole. Just talking about the finale, it was a little bit of a letdown for me. I just feel like it could have been a lot more conclusive in the end. Dude, I kind of find it funny that Kyoya doesn't even decide to ask Keiko any questions like, so what are you? Why are you doing this for me? We ain't got no questions, Koya. No questions at all. I mean, I don't really care. I mean, honestly, I don't really care too much, but it does make you kind of wonder, wouldn't most people ask, like, so who are you and why are you doing this? At any rate, Kawasagawa, best girl in the end. I'm calling it just way too cute. The last two episodes were fantastic with Kawasagawa. She, again, like I said, she's kind of the hidden gem of the show. Really fantastic. But that's my thoughts on the finale. Sorry, not much to talk about. Like I said, it kind of just petered off. So, but yeah, look forward to my review when that comes out. I thank you all for joining me weekly as we did impressions on this series. I know this series had a lot of haters of it, but I definitely enjoyed everybody that joined me for the ride. I did enjoy it, and definitely looked forward to you guys' comments every week. I hope you guys will join me as we go into the next season. I got reviews coming out for all the shows of summer. I will have first impressions for all the shows of fall, and I'm definitely looking forward to joining y'all for weekly on some other shows that I choose for the next season. So, with that all said, thank you all for watching. Hope you all enjoyed. Subscribe if you haven't already. Share this video if you can. Support us on Patreon if you can, and definitely appreciate everybody that does. And y'all take care.